Hello, this is Aaron Mean of SG Gaming Info, and welcome to my video review of Deus Ex Mankind Divided. Eidos Montreal's Deus Ex Mankind Divided is the latest game in the Deus Ex franchise. The game takes place 2 years after Human Revolution, with players once again taking control of Adam Jensen, who is now working for Interpol's Task Force 29 in Prague. Mankind Divided focuses on the divide between augmented and non-augmented people following the Aug incident at the end of Human Revolution. Deus Ex Mankind Divided is an interesting game as it looks to push the idea of inequality, or as the game calls it, mechanical apartheid. Augmented humans are treated like second-class citizens as they have to constantly carry identification papers, get into separate train carriages, and are forced to live in almost slum-like conditions. Mankind Divided paints an incredibly bleak picture as the Aug incident has seen people turn their backs on human augmentation, with the United Nations even planning to push through something called the Human Restoration Act. However, some are sympathetic to the augmented people. The Augmented Rights Coalition, or also known as ARC, push for augmented rights, but once they get blamed for all the terror attacks, people stop listening to them. While the story of Mankind Divided could have been a story of both groups trying to find common ground, the story focuses on what happens when you divide people into groups. As the game shows, terrorism attacks by augmented people are on the rise. In fact, at the start of the game, Jensen himself barely survives a bombing at Prague train station. Very quickly, ARC is blamed for the attacks. But Jensen isn't convinced and decides to investigate the attack. But as he investigates, he uncovers a dangerous anti-augmentation plot created by the Illuminati. As the story progresses, you are forced to make choices. For example, do you help the Juggernaut Collective stop a shipment of drugs, or do you grab the bomb maker? While Deus Ex Mankind Divided has an interesting story about how the relationship between augmented and non-augmented humans has broken down, the story feels incomplete. The end of the game, which features the game's one and only boss fight, seems like it could have been the end of a chapter, not the end of the game. The reason why I say this is that by the end of the game, I had more questions than answers. For example, who are the Juggernaut Collective? Who is the Collective's leader? And finally, what is the Illuminati's end game? In many ways, Mankind Divided seems more fixated on setting the groundwork for future sequels rather than focusing on its own story. In terms of characters, Mankind Divided is interesting. While not every character is fleshed out, those who are fleshed out are interesting. For me, Rooker, the leader of ARC, was an interesting character, as he shows he has a good reason for his beliefs. Even when he and his organization are blamed for bombings, he still holds onto his idea of a non-violent solution. On the other hand, the game's main villain feels almost comic book-like, as he simply wants to cause chaos and destruction. There are numerous other characters I could talk about, but that would involve me rambling on for far too long and potentially spoiling the game. In terms of gameplay, Mankind Divided is similar to Human Revolution, as the game has a strong focus on player choice, with players being allowed to decide how to approach any given situation. This means players can decide to play Mankind Divided like a traditional cover-based shooter, or take a non-lethal route by focusing on stealth and hacking. Personally, I took a non-lethal approach, as I found trying to sneak around patrols by crawling through vents, hacking doors and knocking out those who I couldn't sneak past to be far more rewarding than running and gunning. Of course, no matter your playstyle, you have your augmentations to help. These augmentations help improve your playstyle, so you might need to pick your playstyle very quickly. Augmentations include cloaking, silence movement, hacking, and more. Of course, while the majority of the augmentations are brought over from Human Revolution, Jensen does have new unstable augmentations at his disposal. While it isn't known how they are added, these new augmentations enhance your playstyle, but using them early in the game requires you to micromanage your augmentations, as using these new augmentations can slowly hinder Jensen's abilities. What else is there to talk about in terms of gameplay? Well, for one, we have weapon management. Weapon management is all about altering your currently selected weapon. This includes switching ammo type, changing attachments, and changing firing patterns. Weapon management can be an effective tool, especially when fighting robots, as you can stun them with EMP ammo, then change to your normal ammo to finish them off. Mankind Divided also features enhancements to the hacking mechanic. These enhancements, which include a fog of war and firewall, make hacking far more challenging. Although, admittedly, some of the challenges such as fog of war can be more annoying than challenging. Two additional gameplay features are the conversations and crafting. Conversations work the same way they did in Human Revolution, as certain situations can be overcome by using special augmentations to scan the person and help you choose the best response. For example, if the augment says the person has an Omega personality, then choose the Omega reply. In regards to crafting, it is very basic, as it involves picking up crafting parts to make special ammo, multi-tools, and biocells. The ability to make biocells is important as they help recharge your augmented abilities. What else is there to say about Mankind Divided? Well, personally, I was disappointed by the location variety, with Jensen only visiting 5 locations over the course of the game, and a lot of which were rather small. I believe only Prague and the Tula complex allowed for any meaningful degree of exploration. If you're looking for things to do past the story, Mankind Divided does offer Jensen's Stories and Breach, although I never played either one of them. So let's talk about issues. While the PlayStation 4 version of Deus Ex Mankind Divided was mostly smooth sailing, several issues did crop up. These include the occasional screen stuttering when running around Prague, and the game crashing during a cutscene. Before I reach my conclusion, let's talk about the graphics and audio. Graphically, the game looks beautiful, especially when you begin to notice details such as water droplets running down Jensen's body when it's raining. Audio-wise, nothing particularly good or bad stood out. Although for those who like subtitles, I should point out they are off by default. So, in conclusion, Deus Ex Mankind Divided is a game built on a strong premise, but unfortunately the story feels incomplete. While the story can be lacking, the game has a strong focus on player choice. With that said, I give Deus Ex Mankind Divided a score of 8 out of 10, with the game's pros being great world building, player choice, using augmentations is fun, and the cons are the story feels incomplete. Thank you for watching. Please like, favorite, and subscribe. For more gaming information, please visit sggaminginfo.com. And don't forget to like our Facebook page at facebook.com/sggaminginfo. And follow us on Twitter at sggaminginfo.